What's up, everyone? It's Bryan here from the Exact IT Solutions YouTube channel, and welcome to another video where we help educate you on the things going on out there around cybersecurity. And today we're going to get into a few things. There's a fertility clinic that is under a ransomware attack. A U.S. insurance giant just released more information about a ransomware attack that they experienced in September that I'm going to get into. Our good friends over at CISA have released a ransomware readiness tool, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit and explain what that is and who should be using it and who shouldn't. We're also going to talk about what's going on with ransomware right now, because there aren't a whole heck of a lot of attacks going on, but I'm going to show you some things that could prove to you that that might not continue to be the case here in the near future. And then some comments around some things that FireEye's CEO said that I want to address. And then just a little bit of information at the end here that we're going to talk about around how prevalent is the information that's out there around ransomware. I know we talk about it a lot on this channel, but does the rest of the world know what's really going on? And is that going to be a problem for us or not? So we're going to get into all these things. But before we do, remember, I don't get paid for the channel. So remember to hit the like button down below. My goal is to educate 1 million people on cybersecurity as best as I can. And by you hitting that like button allows YouTube to share that out to other people. It helps with the algorithm and all that good stuff. And you can also hit the little share button and share it out on your social media platforms that you belong to, and show people that there's good, valuable content here. So without further ado, let's jump into the content for today. All right, so up on the screen we have a few things. Number one is this first thing I'm going to talk about is the fertility clinic that disclosed a data breach recently. It's a Georgia-based fertility clinic, and they disclosed a data breach after files containing sensitive patient information were stolen during a ransomware attack. This happened towards the end of June, but the reason that I want to bring it up is, I haven't really done a video in a while because I've been busy with other things, and I wanted to cover this because it's another entity, another medical facility that was attacked, and this is supposed to be one of those things that's off limits to attackers. Now, we really don't know who's behind it, but we do know that the data has been exposed for a lot of people. And for something like a fertility clinic, that's fairly sensitive information. So they basically are saying that the full name, address, social security number, lab results, and information relating to the handling of human tissue for about 38,000 patients has been basically stolen by hackers, and now is potentially going to be released on the dark web, which is horrible to think about for these patients. One of the things is that they are investigating the incident. They determined in June of 2021 that the individual's personal information was affected. So again, this is both RBA and the My Egg Bank entities are both affected here. And this is the Reproductive Biology Associates LLC. So if you happen to be in the Georgia area and you've worked with this company for fertility help or things like that, your data is out there and it's exposed, and unfortunately it's going to probably end up on the dark web at some point, although it doesn't appear that it's there now. So moving right along, we have this insurance giant, AJG. It's Arthur J. Gallagher. They got hit with ransomware in September of 2020. Actually, the event went on for about 3 months in 2020 in the summer. And they're now reporting as of yesterday that information, private information, was stolen in this event. And they have a lot of employees. They have like roughly 33,000 employees. And they have operations in like 49 companies. They're 429 on the Fortune 500 list. And this is just another example of companies that think that this data isn't being exfiltrated when it really is. And here we are almost a year after the event, and they are now releasing the information. And the type of information discovered on the compromised systems during the review include, and it's very, very highly sensitive information, Social Security numbers, tax ID numbers, driver's license, passport, or other government identification numbers, date of birth, username and password, employee identification number, financial account or credit card information, electronic signatures, medical treatment, claim diagnosis, medication or other medical information, health insurance information, medical record or account number, and biometric information. I mean, a lot got taken here. It is a publicly traded company, so they had to file this with the SEC, which they've done. And, you know, I don't know what else to say here other than just trying to educate everybody that you know, when ransomware attacks happen, 9.5 times out of 10, 95% of the time, we are seeing data stolen from the network before the ransomware rears its ugly head. And companies just need to expect that if they do get hit with ransomware, that their data was stolen. Because that's the leverage that these guys are using, knowing that companies, you know, when ransomware first came out, you know, people didn't have backups. And then now people got kind of with the program, and they started doing backups the right way and started doing them regularly. So that was kind of, you know, the thing that would save your bacon, so to speak, when you got hit with ransomware. And then that no longer became the case about, you know, 16, 18 months ago, when we regularly saw double extortion become a thing. And I've talked a ton about double extortion on this channel. And with the event of double extortion, now they just steal the data, and then they threaten to release that data. And when you see something like AJG reporting that this amount of sensitive data has been released, it's a problem for not only them, but it's a problem for the patients and everybody involved. So businesses that are watching this, and business owners and business leaders and IT directors and people in charge of making decisions around technology need to understand that you have to do things now in a world where double extortion is a thing. You can't just rely on your backups for this stuff. That's what we're seeing in the world, and that's the advice that I'm giving you today. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse because I talk about it all the time, and you can go watch other videos. And I actually did a video well over a year ago where I said backups will no longer save your bacon. And that went into detail about double extortion and why backups no longer matter when it comes to recovering from ransomware. Well, they do in a way, but it doesn't prevent you from not paying the ransom, because, you know, they steal the data, and then the threat of releasing that data or actually releasing that data ends up costing the businesses a lot more. And the other point here that I want to make is, and point out to people, is that we are seeing time and time again that ransomware events are very expensive. We see the data, we see the numbers. It is much cheaper to do the preventative things on the left side of the boom before the event happens than deal with things on the right side of the boom when you're talking about not only doing basically an overhaul of your system under a very short timeline, which is very expensive. You're dealing with things like paying PR firms and breach coaches, and, you know, actually hiring people to help you through this event. And not only that, you're also going to be sued, and you're going to have to pay lawyers. And we're seeing all these things come up after the event, and businesses think, well, I'll just pay the ransom and that'll be it. But when things like double extortion happen, paying the ransom doesn't really matter, especially if you're a publicly traded company, because you have to report this stuff to somebody. And even if you're not publicly traded, there's enough red flags out there with Congress and the White House and what's coming out of there and coming out of Washington, D.C., that this is going to be something that all businesses, regardless of size, are going to have to deal with in the very near future. Ransomware and cybersecurity is on the front burner for a lot of politicians, and you're going to see a lot of things coming between now and the end of 2021 that are going to go into effect in 2022. So get ready, hire a cybersecurity firm to work with you and get this stuff in place because it's coming. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball. So if you take anything away from this video, get started today because it's coming. The government's going to make you do it. So along with the government, along with all the things that the senators are doing out there, CISA decided to release a tool, and this is out there. It's in the press, and the CISA's CSET tool sets sight on ransomware threat. And the article goes in here to say, and this was from June 30th, so it's new. CISA has released a new module in its cybersecurity evaluation tool known as CSET. The Ransomware Readiness Assessment, CSET, is a desktop software tool that guides network defenders through a step-by-step process to evaluate their cybersecurity practices on their network. CSET, applicable to both information technology and industrial control system network, enables users to perform comprehensive evaluations of their cybersecurity posture using many recognized government and industry standards and recommendations. The RRA is a self-assessment based on a tiered set of practices to help organizations better assess how well they are equipped to defend and recover from ransomware incidents. CISA has tailored the RRA to varying levels of ransomware threat readiness to make it useful for organizations regardless of their current cybersecurity maturity. And I have that tool up here, and that's what I have. I went and installed it, and it is a nice little tool. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not automated, and it's going to take somebody some time. And as you can see, they have ASET, CMMC, EDM, Ransomware Readiness Tool, and then it basically guides you through controls, right? So my company is a CompTIA Security Plus Trustmark certified company, which means that we follow the NIST cybersecurity framework and we've been audited against it. And what this tool does is essentially that. It walks you through varying levels of controls. Now, you can change the level that you want to do here. So now you see that this puts you up against 60 of the NIST cybersecurity framework controls or 199 of the FIPS framework. Whatever framework you want to follow is fine. I always recommend that on this channel. And then as you kind of move up the chain here, you can select your level of, based on your maturity and like how high you want to be. And this is going to benchmark you against all these controls, and you can change these levels. So you can click next, and then it has you pick a standard selection based on what you want to do or what your, are you DOD? Are you trying to do cybersecurity certification? Are you in chemical, oil, or natural gas? Are you in electrical, financial, just general business, healthcare, information technology? These are all all the NIST framework is built in here. And when you check these off, they're going to basically give you a different level of controls. So like, for instance, under information technology, you see 853. That's 53 controls inside of the NIST framework. Down here, you have 53, but you have 82, 161. I believe 171 is still the highest. I don't think that has changed, 171 controls. And that's basically the number of controls. And then what this software does is it has you analyze by asking you questions and making you fill out answers on what your readiness, looks like and what your maturity is. And by no means is this an automated tool. By no means is this easy to do. It's going to take somebody some time. You're going to have to not only answer the questions, but you're going to have to do analysis, and you're going to need evidence and data to back up what you're saying. You don't want to just go in here and make stuff up and say things. Otherwise, I coach ice hockey, and I always have kids complaining to me that kids are cutting drills or cheating, and I always tell my players that don't worry about other players, worry about yourself, because when you're cutting drills and you're not doing things the right way, you're only cheating yourself. Well, it's the same thing with this stuff. You're only cheating yourself if you lie or you don't put the correct information in. And if you really don't know the information is 100% accurate, don't put it in there. Go find a tool, go run an assessment with a tool that tells you that these things are in place, or that tells you your network's configured a certain way. When you're talking about things like backup, right? How do you know your backups are good? Are you testing them? Are you actually doing full-blown recoveries and actually testing them in a different environment? Or are you just looking at the job log that said the job was completed and it was okay? That's not testing. Testing is actually taking the data from the backup source and seeing if you can get it operational. That's an actual test, and that's how you figure these things out. Patching. How are you patching? How are you running those things? How are you making sure that the patches are applied? And how are you making sure that your tools are actually reporting accurate information? That's all stuff that's built into these things. And you go through and you answer these questions. Yes, no, you can flag them. And it is a nice tool, but it's very manual. It's very manual, right? And quite frankly, this is what my company and my team, we get paid to do this for companies. So unless you have resources dedicated to this is going to take a lot of time and money to do. So I just want to kind of put that out there as to what this tool is. It's not an automated tool. It's not something that's going to run on your system and come back at you and say, hey, you're good to go. You're ransomware ready. This is literally going to take you through a compliance assessment that you're going to do, and you can try to do it on your own. But if you're not a technical person, it's going to be very difficult for you. So I would get some help or guidance if you were going to try to get this done on your own. But quite frankly, companies like mine, and there's a lot of other companies out there, I'm not just trying to promote my company on this channel. There's a lot of companies that have things in place that can make this really a lot easier for you. You won't have to dedicate people and resources and time and money that detract from what you actually do to make money to do something like this. There's a lot here, and it's going to take a significant amount of time for somebody to get through it all. So you can get this tool right from GitHub. They put it out on GitHub. You want to go to the CISA right now. The latest version is 10.11. And if you're a Windows user, you want to hop over to the CISA standalone installer. That's going to be the easiest way to get this on your system. Now, I want to warn you that when you download this and you put it on your system, it's going to install some other things like IIS and SQL Express and the Express version of IIS. You might not want to run that on your computer. Just a heads up. And if you do, you probably want to remove it at some point when you no longer need it. I wouldn't recommend putting those two tools on any random system. And quite frankly, you might want to set up a VM or a different computer to install and run this on separate from the rest of your environment. I'm not claiming that there's anything wrong with this tool, but I was a little surprised when when IIS and SQL Server Express were asked to be installed along with it. Not a big, huge deal, but they are pushing this tool. And the other thing I noticed is this tool was released in November of 2020. And they added the ransomware readiness recently, I believe. That's why they promoted it over here. So that's the deal. It's a great way to kind of start getting your feet wet with compliance and what compliance looks like if you're unfamiliar with it. This isn't a tool that should be run by an average user or somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. This is a tool for technical people. I know I got a little technical here, but I'm seeing a lot of news articles about this tool, and I don't want somebody who isn't a technical person to kind of go out there and start trying to figure out what this thing is and if they should download it and if they should install it. Because quite frankly, I just believe that you're going to become absolutely frustrated with it. It's not straightforward. And you really kind of have to know what you're doing in order to not only install the tool, but actually run through it and actually answer these questions and complete the tool and the survey. So it's a nice little way to put the framework in place. And there's other private tools out there. The government's making this free for you. But there are tools very similar to this that are out there in the market that you can buy. So I just wanted to put this out there, show you what it was, because it was garnering a lot of press, and I think it's it's good to get that kind of information out there. So like I alluded to earlier, things are a little bit of a lull here, and I've mentioned this before on the channel, where things with ransomware usually happen in waves, and there's usually a lull. And what I've described on this channel before is that when these lulls happen with ransomware groups, it's usually because they're retooling the way that they're doing things. And with the recent ransomware attacks and how they've went down and the press that they've garnered and how the U.S. government really got involved and other countries' governments really have gotten involved in this last 3 months or so, we're at a point where I think these guys have kind of taken a step back. They're retooling. They're looking at what the defenses have been put in place, and they're looking at how they can get around those now, and they're retooling their methodologies and their processes. A lot of people thought that this Babook ransomware group was gone, and they're back. And that's, we see this all the time where people think, oh, well, they're done. The government got to them. Well, no, they just shut their dark website down, and they're no longer communicating through that channel. But the people behind it are still around. They're still able to operate. They're still doing what they do. When you're talking about something as lucrative as cyber criminal ransomware, these guys aren't going away. This is easy money for them. They just go away. They stay low, they lay low as they retool, and then they come back out, they hit a bunch of victims, they make a bunch of money, and then the heat gets put on them, and they go back and they retreat, but they will come back. Babook is back. They are using a new version of ransomware. And then it says, after announcing their exit from the ransomware business in favor of data theft extortion, the Babook gang appears to have slipped back into an old habit of encrypting corporate networks. The gang's still in the game. These guys are back. They're hitting it. They were the ones that hit the Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Police Department, and they are back. So there's not much else to say about that other than they're back. And then we have TrickBot, the guys that were supposedly taken down by Microsoft and the federal government. Cybercrime group is now linked to a new Diavol ransomware, a new ransomware strain that's out there. And FortiGuard Labs security researchers have linked a new ransomware strain dubbed Diavol to Wizard Spider, the crime group behind the TrickBot network. So here we go again, where these groups that we think are going away are coming back, and they're coming back with more tools. These are two reports, July 1st and July 1st. Now, what everybody knows that, and I've talked about it on this channel, most ransomware is deployed Friday night, Saturday morning, early Saturday morning here in the U.S., local time, because they know people aren't there, and they can get away with doing things without people noticing. That's one of the reasons. Plus, there's other reasons why they deploy this stuff at night, and some of it is for effect and shock factor. We have July 4th coming weekend here in the U.S., which is Independence Day weekend. A lot of people go on vacation. A lot of people go away. A lot of businesses shut down. It's Friday, July 2nd here, and things are, from all intents and purposes, things are slow in terms of the traffic that we're seeing. That means that people are going on vacation. And My fear is that we're going to see some big ransomware attacks over the holiday weekend. That's usually when these things are deployed. There were a ton of ransomware attacks over the Memorial Day weekend and leading up to the Memorial Day weekend. So I wouldn't be surprised that we see a major return of ransomware attacks over this weekend and in the next coming weeks as hackers set their sights on trying to get into the networks of companies that they know where people aren't there. So it's not just deploying ransomware, but these advanced persistent threat groups also getting access to networks and then taking control of them, getting in there so they can then contact the ransomware people and get the ransomware deployed maybe in a week or two. So I would say from today on, from tonight after we leave work to probably the next 2 weeks, the middle of July, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an uptick in publicly released ransomware attacks or large ransomware attacks. We're going to definitely hear an uptick of private ones that people never hear about. But I wouldn't be surprised if, in a day or two or Monday or Tuesday, we're hearing of major ransomware attacks in the United States. So moving along, I just wanted to briefly touch on a couple articles here that I thought were interesting. Increase in ransomware attacks absolutely aligns with the rise of crypto, FireEye says. Well, I'll agree with this a little bit, but we can't solely put our blame on Bitcoin or crypto as the reason for the uptick in ransomware. The only reason ransomware attacks are going up is because businesses aren't doing enough to prevent them. That's the bottom line. You need to own this, business owners. You need to own this as your problem, and quite frankly, you can't blame this on anybody else. You can't blame a ransomware attack on anyone else but yourself when they happen. If you're going to sit there and blame it on external factors like crypto, because crypto is worth so much and it's an easy way for people to move funds anonymously, that's the wrong way to look at this, in my opinion. Before cryptocurrency was a big thing, there was ransomware. And I've mentioned this before, and the way that they made you pay was through Western Union Telegram, which is also very anonymous. You go to somewhere that offers Western Union Telegrams, you give them the money, they give you a receipt, you go back to the attacker, you give them the Western Union Telegram number, they send somebody to their Western Union place to get the money, usually in a country that the U.S. has no jurisdiction over, so it's not like we could have cameras or agents go to the same place and meet the person. That's not how it works. And Western Union was a very popular way before the advent of crypto and crypto becoming so easy to get through exchanges. When it was very hard to sign up for a crypto account and it took 2 or 3 days to get everything in place before you could actually buy that crypto, Western Union was the fastest way to get your data back, and that's just a fact. And I'm always going to say that, because if you take crypto out of the picture, they're going to make you do other things. They're going to make you do Western Union, or they're going to make you buy gift cards at CVS or Best Buy or what have you, or Apple gift cards, and then they're going to get the money that way. And that's how this is going to go down. And if you don't think that they'll make you do that for millions of dollars, they will. I mean, they just don't care. They're ruthless. I showed that in my video where I uncovered the dark web, and I showed you all the information that they put out on their sites. It was the last video I think I did on the channel. So last one we're going to talk about, and I'm going to let you get to your holiday weekend if that's what you're up to, and when you're watching this, when we post it. Otherwise, you're watching this afterwards. But Armis data shows dangerous lack of awareness of cyber attacks, and you would think that after the Colonial Pipeline, that a lot of people were in tune to this. And this is a channel, an IT industry magazine. So Armis surveyed more than 2,000 professionals in various industries from across the United States in May, and found the end users are not paying attention to major cyber attacks plaguing operational technology and critical infrastructure across the country. The signals That signals the importance of businesses prioritizing a focus on security as employees return to the office. So what this is saying, that, with all these ransomware attacks, with everything being in the news, that there were a lot of people that were surveyed in this 2,000 professional pool that had no idea that any of this stuff was going on. So this is why it's important for companies to provide security and awareness training on a regular basis to your employees. So I don't care who you are watching this video right now. And if you made it this far in the video, I hope you consider subscribing to my channel. But if you own a business, if you work in a business, if you have a computer in front of you to do your job every day, and you're not receiving weekly cybersecurity awareness training, I don't want to hear that you're doing it once a year, once a quarter, once a month. That's not enough. If you want to make ransomware a thing that your employees are aware of and that they don't click on things and cause that problem in your business, you need to provide weekly cybersecurity awareness training. There's ways to deliver this in a very minimal time frame, talking like 5 minutes, quick videos. People have short attention spans. This stuff isn't sexy. People don't really want to learn about it. It's not interesting to them. So break it down into short chunks. Don't make them sit in 1 hour, 2 hour, 5 hour, long, monthly, quarterly, or yearly, lectures from somebody about cybersecurity. There's better ways to do this stuff. There's better ways to deliver this stuff. And my opinion is short weekly videos with tracking, like quizzes or things like that behind it, are what you want to deliver to your employees. And if you're an employee watching this and you're not responsible for these types of decisions, but you are not receiving, or you're sitting here going, no, we don't do that at our company, call whoever's in charge of that at your company and tell them that you should be doing it, and we should be doing it this way. You don't want to be the person who causes a ransomware problem at your company and shuts it down. And nobody wants that, kind of on their resume, right? So call and be that proactive person that's going to get your company on board with this stuff, because lack of awareness is the reason that cyber attacks occur. So look, we're heading into the holiday weekend. You already know my thoughts on that. I think we're going to have big problems after the weekend. I hope not, but based on the fact that we have TrickBot and Babook out there and they're kind of rearing their ugly heads again, it's just earmarkers to not a great holiday weekend. So hopefully your networks are protected and you don't have an issue through this weekend. But if you do, we're here to help. We're here to reach out to us. We're here to help if you do end up getting a cyber attack over the weekend. And you can reach out to us next week. You can reach out to us over the weekend. When these events do happen, it's not fun, and we have resources that can get you through it a lot easier. So that's it. Hope everyone enjoyed the content. Drop some comments below. I covered a lot today because I haven't done a video in a while, so I'm happy you stuck through this through here to this point with me. Remember to subscribe to our channel, share our content out to your friends and family so they can get educated just like you. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you on the other side.